Welcome everybody to our energy forecast and live discussion for May 2022 energies. Yes, another transformative month. And as is the tradition here in this live discussion with energetically sensitives and highly sensitive people and empaths, we begin the forecast with looking back, contextualizing some of these experiences that we've had here in April, how some of these predictions that I made last month turned out, and what this means for us moving forward. And here I would like to invite you to join me in text or in voice. This will be published as the Sacred Self-Healing discussion, and then the official forecast will have those personal sharings cut out, just to make it a little easier for you to participate here, since you are here with me live right now. So for April, I pointed out the deeper aspects of our journey, and I talked a little bit about rock bottom. I talked about the collective impact of our journey and how we are literally at the precipice of a new world order. I mentioned the Ukraine crisis, that it will work out. This is in the making, guys. So I was a bit off on my timing, as so many times with forecasting. It's very difficult to say what you pick up on, and when this is ready to be announced. You can tell that the diplomatic relationships have been continued again. So there is a talk, and the resolution here, besides all the impact of this war and the distraction also that it provides for us, is slowly beginning to de-escalate. So there will be a solution. However, May is the month where this sort of transformation that comes with these power struggles, that comes with territory, borders, boundaries, and so forth, is even more personal. And what I would like to ask you right now is, how did this go for you with the deeper journey? Who of you thought you had already hit rock bottom in March, only to find out that it wasn't rock bottom yet? Yes. It's important to really laugh about this and to bring in this sort of witnesser and observer perspective, guys. It reminds you of who you truly are. Remember how I said this last month, like what you are, what you actually are, and then who you are or whom you decide to be, or live this life as in this lifetime. That's almost like a surface layer, and what you're going to do with it, or how you're going to get there, well, that is the action part. That's the doing part of human being. And May is the month of applying the deeper wisdom that we've acquired by actually going through some of the underbelly of these outer things that we experience in our own personal lives. Janet is sharing here that she's learned more about narcissistic behavior in your family. Yes, a lot of these insights, a lot of this wisdom that is coming forward for you guys is quite karmic, actually, and it's not surprising for me, Janet, that it reaches back as far as like you beginning to realize how there's grooming and conditioning, for example, like sort of putting other people's needs or other people's wants above your own, and therefore kind of losing yourself, losing your own needs and your own wants in the process. how we were like kind of karmically set up for that, yeah, through the family of origin. And it's very important that we understand this. I talked in the energy updates, in the weekly energy updates, I talked about karmic infliction points. When we begin to realize the setups, the programs, the patterns that have run our life, is a moment where we can truly make choices for our lives. It unfortunately takes all this suffering, all this going through, you know, for many of us, trauma or negative experiences, disappointments or injustice, to finally face that and realize that it's not anybody's fault. It is exactly what you needed to arrive here. And now the question is, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to continue seeing yourself as a victim? Are you going to continue to see all this as being done to you or having happened to you? Yeah? Are you going to continue seeing yourself as a powerless being, a pawn in the greater scheme of things? Or are you going to make a choice? The choice that you want to drive the bus from now on. That with knowing all this and acknowledging the trauma, acknowledging the pain that it has created for you, also realizing how that has determined your journey and how that has gotten you here. And yes, guys, I'm not speaking, you know, about, oh, you're the master of your destiny and stuff like this. I don't mean this, you know, as shallow as it may sound to some of you. This isn't New Age talk.
Jona?
Yes?
You know what, when I start to mention this, I'm remembering through the month, well, actually the feeling is kind of like digging out, like it wasn't even my action. And I knew this month was going to be a bit about just things, energies flowing through. But like digging into like it's like, it sounds really bad, but like if you're going to clean out a dirty cement corner in a house, like you never really got in that corner of the basement.
It's exactly like that. Yes,
Or like
wonderful.
a dirty, like a cavity in a
Yes.
tooth. Like the only way to get that out, something comes
Yes.
in and pull it out.
Yes.
And a couple times I had flashes of like, oh, that's programming. And it wasn't anything major. It wasn't even in the face of anybody. It was probably in the face of my own thinking, but I could feel like something shift and get that bit of information and witnessing myself as well. And in some ways, I am the victim of these people, of what they are intentionally doing to me. But I'm not really a big... I look at that. I do look at it, but I kind of am too busy to sit around.
Janet,
it's just more painful being away from, you know, the situation, my kids and everything. It's very, very challenging. That I know the whole world, lots of these things are happening to people, but when it's happening to my kids, it's just like stupid.
No, I totally acknowledge that. I can totally see this, and we subjectively experience it as something that is being done to us. And I want to give you, you know, I don't know if these are words of consolation for you, but I want to give you just a little story here. I talked to the students at our school, the Master Tree Academy, about discerning things that other people do to you. Yeah, it's obviously at that age very important for the kids to learn the difference between, you know, when somebody's mean to you, or when somebody's unkind, or when somebody's rude to you, or when someone is bullying you. Yeah, and bullying is obviously sort of a childhood word, but the distinction or the discernment that I offered the kids, and I ran through several scenarios, of identifying, is this a one-time thing? Is this something that slipped out? Is this something, where another person had a low moment, or is this something that is being done intentionally, like you just said, or is this done that there's something that is done systematically? Yeah, and when it's done systematically or repeatedly, that's when we talk about bullying. Yeah, and so we have to understand that there are different reasons why people do that, but if we find that in our core nuclear family, so to speak, okay, you have to understand that just the fact that you were exposed to this, yeah, from childhood, or like in these formative years, set you up to see yourself as powerless. And that's why this sort of anti-bullying learning is part of kids' curriculum nowadays, because they're going to have to learn resolution strategies. Yeah, what do you do when somebody bullies you? Yeah, or how do you resolve when somebody is intentionally mean to you? Especially, and this is something that most of us here as energetically sensitives and more on the empathic side of things, have a really hard time to process. It's really difficult for us to understand why other people do this. Yeah, because there is something at the core, yeah, that is foreign to us. And I want to just give you a little bit of food here for your own self-healing process, Janet. Okay? When people have no empathy, yeah, and you can call them mean, and you can call them heartless, and you can call them cold or reptilian, whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you call them. When people don't have empathy, all right, they will have a tendency to do things to others that, appear as deliberately hurtful or, overpowering. And someone who has a heart, someone who has empathy, will never be able to wrap their minds around that. You will never understand that, Janet. This is a psychology that you don't have. Yeah, it's like trying to understand a serial killer. Do you guys know what I mean? If you try to understand a serial killer psychology, you're going to have to become one to fully understand it. And so my tip for you is that you let go of not the fact that it happened, because that needs to be acknowledged, and also the pain that it has caused you, but letting go of trying to understand it. Do not try to understand this. And when it comes to children or, loved ones, pets, whatever involved, dependents, then use your own deeper spiritual understanding for yourself, namely that you are first and foremost a soul, a soul self, your spirit being that is having a 3D experience, and that 3D experience is partially, there for you to grow. So whatever it is that you as individual sovereign soul self need for growth, growth is always signified through bringing more love, more freedom, and more truth, more wisdom into your life. Yeah, the same applies to our children. Their soul self, and I know what this sounds like, guys, and I don't mean this or mean to brush over these kind of things, agreed to this experience. Okay, so there is a learning, a deeper wisdom in going through this, and the way out, besides what I already suggested, stop trying to understand it. Because in that, you try to understand the serial killer, okay? You are getting pulled into your own darkness, into the darkness of your own duality. It doesn't match up in you, and the more you try to make sense of it, the worse it's going to get. The more you're going to doubt yourself, the more you're going to question your own perception. And so the soul task that comes with this, and this is really directed at all of you here that have experienced or are experiencing a certain level of powerlessness in your life, yeah, or this sort of bullying, be it through authorities, yeah, like the restrictions that are still in some of your countries, or like tax authorities maybe, or the parents or spouses or whatever, bosses or organizations. All right, you're gonna have to stop trying to cope with it. This is related to May energies. You're gonna have to consciously choose to no longer trying to be a better coper. The coping that you have been programmed with, this is where it goes back to that grooming, is now what is working against you. It's almost like an autoimmune dysfunction. You're trying to cope with it, you're trying to understand it, you're trying to make sense of it. You have to let go of that. That's May energies, Janet. You have to consciously choose to move on and trust. First and foremost, trust in your own inner signals and your own what's right for you, what's healthy for you. And secondly, you have to trust that all other soul selves out here, no matter what the suffrages that they go through, no matter what they're experiencing from your point of view, it's basically none of our business, not even with our children. We are, of course, an integral part of their programming, of their grooming, yeah, as mothers, as fathers, as relatives or friends. But it is not our responsibility. The purpose of our journey is to be accountable for our own choices. The promise that we've made to our soul self and the divine, if you will, to grow into our highest potential, to find the highest expression that we can attain in this lifetime through conscious correction, freely thinking, freely feeling, and choice making, conscious choice making. Yeah, so what I'm saying is that you're absolutely right. And what you saw here in these dirty corners, yeah, is a darkness that has accompanied you in your life. But now that you can see it, now that you can acknowledge it, you can clean it. You can let go of it. So April energies were all about what can I let go to grow. Yeah. And consequently now, May energies are about what can I apply to grow. Yeah. The wisdom that I have gathered here through this deep dive, yeah, into these dirty corners or the underbelly of my psyche. How is this helping me? How is this making me wiser? How does that allow me to maybe simplify, to pick my battles more wisely? Yeah, to let go, to cut down. I mean, no, I'm not saying this to you, Janet. I'm talking in general, the contextualization now. Yeah, this progression that comes with every month's energy. How can I apply this now? Yeah, how can I contextualize this? In fact, how can I recontextualize my life, my experiences, my journey, so that I can move into more truth, more love, more freedom for myself, in order to heed the one promise, yeah, that I really need to be or that I really am responsible, that I'm actually responsible for. Yeah. Don't know if this helps. Yeah. It is very, very difficult, especially when it comes to these narcissistic structures and systems and family systems and relationships. The gaslighting, the mind control, I've talked about this before, how we as a collective basically experienced some of that here through the last 2 years. But this is deeper, guys. This isn't about identifying all the narcs, the narcissists in this world. I mean, there's a realism that we need right now. We live in a society that favors that. Yeah, it's fundamentally dog eats dog. Yeah, so that is still, the energetic and practical reality out there. Yeah, people who are seeking truth, who are seeking love, who are seeking freedom, who are willing to do this, with these values such as, unity and equity and mutuality. That's a minority, guys. I mean, that's anywhere from 5 to 15%, depending on the collective, the country. Yeah. So that's the reality. That's the weather condition out there. Yeah. And when it comes to these narcissistic structures, guys, the thing that can help you the best is to learn, to educate yourself, to learn about how these mechanisms work. And now comes the wisdom part. Understand your own susceptibilities. Understand what makes you prey, what makes you get lured and pulled into these structures. And heed it. You work with it. Say to yourself, well, I've come to find out that, for whatever reason, narcissistic abuse or whatever, alcoholism, mental illness, any personality disorder will feel like narcissistic abuse. Yeah, but any substance abuse will as well. That has created coping mechanisms in me that are not healthy for me on the long run. They distance me, or in many of our cases, actually cut me off from truly feeling and freely thinking for myself. And therefore, this is the witness in you. Well, I guess I'm going to need some extra boundaries. I need some extra thresholds. I need some extra checkpoints. I need to be more conscientious. I have to pay more attention. I can't afford to go on autopilot, because if I'm in the presence of a narcissist, it will inevitably pull my ego into some sort of strange comfort, the comfort of familiarity, which means all my blind spots will be active because I was groomed to respond to that. And that's your choice, guys. That is where you can be a conscious energy manager, where you can be smarter than that. This is part of your spiritual journey. This is your journey. Darkness is the absence of that connection with your own light, with these things that I am talking about here. That's darkness, when you cannot feel your own light. And yes, there are a lot of people out there who cannot feel their light. Some of them because they're going through a crisis, or they're going through a hard time, and it's temporary. And some of them, they've never felt their light. They have zero reference feeling for that, and therefore don't even know what they're doing to you. They don't even know what that feels like. Maybe they can understand it intellectually, some sort of cognitive empathy, but they do not understand what they're doing to you, like the bullying, say, how that shatters your worldview, how that shatters your light. And that is and needs to be all of your guys' awareness. You need to understand that darkness Yeah, the nature of darkness, and we're going to have a workshop here, May. I'll go a little deeper into this. The nature of darkness is untruths, cloudiness, fogginess, lies, deception, trickery, gaslighting. That is, in essence, the energetic nature of darkness. And what does it do to us? What does darkness do to us? If you take out the personification, like, oh, New World Order and devil and this and this and this, take that out. How does it affect you? It distracts you. It distances you. It makes you pay attention to other things. It makes you pay attention to that negative inner self-talk that you have. That critical inner voice that is constantly churning. You don't even know how much of that is even yours. Most of it is just a repeat, reciting things that you hear other people say or that you've heard when you were a young child, or the manifestation of this voice entity over years, criticizing yourself, doubting yourself, berating yourself, minimizing yourself. Yes, that's exactly what it is, Tina. It distracts you into stop loving yourself. That's the purpose of darkness. Yes. So whenever you agree to being a victim, you've agreed to letting darkness do that to you. You've become silently complicit, and this is a very rough one, guys. Only it takes a little bit of consciousness training to see that. Yeah. So really, I'm not saying it's all your own fault. That's not what I'm saying. Please don't brush over this. It's deeper than that. May energies are very deep, and they, for the one or other of you, they may appear as sort of the final battle with your ego god, okay? The ego god in us, okay? This is all poetic, obviously, but the ego god in us is the part in us, and that's often linked to our inner critic, to that negative inner self-talk, is of the opinion that God is making mistakes, that that this isn't right. Yeah, how could God allow all these suffering children everywhere in the world, and the planet going in, into like a collapse and blah 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 blah. That's how the ego god talks. The ego says, I know better. And that is the eternal battle inside of us. It's dualism. Yeah, dualism in us, the black and white, the positionalizing, the opinions, the beliefs and all that, that are unreflected. Yeah, they create an entity in us, that essentially contradicts God and says all this, divine nature and all is cool, but where this is going is not right. And I know better. It has to go my way. We all have an ego god, so to speak, in us. But we got to recognize how that is actually linked to our own darkness. And in some cases, it is so strong, without us even realizing, maybe because we got swept away by our pain, we get swept away by the injustice in the world, we get swept away by only seeing suffering and seeing life as a struggle, and ourselves as some kind of lifeless beings whom life happens to. That's the choice we have to make, guys, if this is really how we want to see life. Because if we do, then that's how it's going to be. It is our attitude, our alignment to life that determines how we contextualize what happens to us. And how we contextualize what happens to us determines our way of thinking and feeling. And this is where consciousness comes in. It can pierce through that. It can break through that. It can break through the childhood grooming, the conditioning, through the collective programming, through etheric stuff, through trauma and negative experiences, through all these coping and self-soothing distractions, that we've perfected in the course of our lifetimes, to survive our life. May will teach us that surviving life is not really a very efficient strategy. Okay, so I call the May energies simplification. Simplifying is basically the task here, and obviously I don't mean brushing over things or being superficial when I say that. I mean letting go of the things that are not making us grow, letting go of the things that restrict our thinking, letting go of our victim attitude, or letting go of even the anger in some cases. Not that there's anything wrong with experiencing anger towards, say, perpetrators or certain boss or organization or system altogether, but we're gonna have to keep this in check, guys, because if you go into autopilot with this, okay, you're gonna end up in your ego god realm, okay? And if you do, you are literally at odds with the divine. You are fighting against the divine. And if that is so, then you need to ask yourself what kind of choice that is. I mean, sure, maybe if I was a preacher or whatever, I would say, well, you're just going to have to trust that God knows better, and, God works in mysterious ways and so forth. And whether you say this in this sort of religious, with this religious connotation or with the New Age connotation, doesn't matter. They both kind of send you into the wrong exit here, because they make you feel powerless. And when you develop your own vision and your own sort of ability to process things freely, emotionally and mentally, you'll begin to see that it's true and not. Because at the end of the day, we all have that, if you will, God spark, that life force, that sets us apart from other alive beings. The ability to break through initial programming, even instincts, the ability to override our needs and wants, that is unique to humans. The only problem is that if we don't do this consciously, we're going to use that to override our development of wisdom, our growth. We're going to say, nah, I only want the shortcut. I only want pleasure, and I'm going to avoid pain, and I'm not willing to grow. Okay, and that is of seen from a deeper perspective, a choice, that determines what our alignment is. So I hope that this was not too far out here for the bigger picture understanding of May energies. But we can see that from our personal experiences, our personal journey, that there are elements of that that relate to from the microscopic into the macroscopic, and all of that is also going on in the collective here at large. Yeah. So some of the other things that I've mentioned about, like this new world order is forming, and obviously, aspects of economy and the financial systems are transforming. Those are all things that have to happen. They have to happen. They're part of our evolution as humans. They have to happen. We have to move from this, sort of centralized, sort of little kingdoms to a more decentralized a way of living. All right, and this includes resource sharing. Obviously, this includes, the higher values, and virtues such as trust. I mean, it's unthinkable right now to trust the authorities, or you name it. We don't even trust our spouses anymore. We don't trust our schools. We don't trust our corporations. We don't trust anything anymore. Remember, this is going to link you into your own darkness, because if there is nothing that you know that you can trust in, it's very, very difficult for you to make good choices. It's very difficult for you to have your own reference feeling for wisdom, for what is wise. Yeah, so this is what we're supposed to figure out here in May. What is wise? What can I let go of? Yeah? What can I simplify? What can I, which battles can I drop? Or which processes or strategies or life plans can be just as effective, or maybe even more effective, if I simplify things, if I reduce things down to their essence. How can I apply this phenomenal ability that we all have due to the power of our consciousness, self-correction? Yeah? How can I apply self-correction to my personal life? May is the month of new beginnings, of a very, very deep, core transformational processes for all of us. Yeah, and it's a lot more personal this coming month, than it was in April. In other words, this is indeed, for many of you, the final chapter of something, that has been going on for decades. And cutting down, simplifying is not always bad. Yeah, if it can save you energy, if it can allow you to better focus on what is actually needed to be focused on more. Yeah, for example, your light, how you can bring more life, more love, more truth, more freedom into your life. Yeah, that is really worthwhile paying attention to. Yeah, if you can simplify your life and stop turning this big wheel. Yeah, all the things that you think you have to do, or that you've externalized so much that you're not even really seeing it from within yourself, but only from the outside in. Yeah, that's usually what happens. We externalize our powers to a degree that we then more or less become a victim of that. Yeah, we can become a dependent. Yeah. So when you externalize your powers, that means you give your power away to something outside of you. All right. Yes, you are no longer in charge. So May, on all these different levels, guys, is about reclaiming that, stepping into that, being willing, to work with those dirty corners and the underbelly of our pain. Yeah. And on the outside, on a collective level, we're going to see quite a bit of self-revealing of untruth, self-revealing of, these powers to be. And it will be mind-boggling, because there will be things that we literally couldn't see before, and it will lead to us contextualizing our past in a different way. People always ask me, you teach trauma healing and future visioning and so forth. How can I change the past? Well, look, you can't change the past, but you can change the way you look at the past. You can change the way you contextualize your past experiences. Yeah, and the way this occurs is when you zoom out. And whenever we zoom out, when we detach, when we let go of the content, when we zoom into the context, that's when we can see the significance of, maybe going through a healing crisis or experiencing a loss. May will come with losses, but more so with perceived losses. So there is a bit of a collective grieving here. So don't think it's just you if you get pulled in some kind of nostalgia or melancholy. Yes, this is the one aspect of May. It will pull you into these steps, but at the same time, if you can manage to pay attention, if you can manage to not check out and not go into your programmed, your conditioned coping mechanisms, then you can actually experience a phenomenal fortitude. This May is extremely fortunate. Yeah, literally fortunate. Fortunate always means that you receive unexpected support when you actually finally make a decision. And therefore, it will be the month of planning. It will be the month of restructuring things, of making new plans, really writing it up how you want it now, based on who you are now, based on what you want now, based on what you need now, plus the little extra, the wisdom piece that you've, gained over the last months or years, the things that that you in particular have to pay attention to. Yeah, there's tons of things that I know about myself where I've, carried or where I carry battle scars from the past. Yeah, trauma, wounds, things that have hurt me so much that I had to, basically step out of myself continually, perhaps over many, many years, like so many of you. Yeah, and because I know that, I make an effort. My choice is to never ever do this to myself again, to never ever let myself down, by stepping out of myself, by overriding my own needs, my own wants, and especially the prompting, the inner prompting, the impulses, the signals that I feel as to how I need to grow, how I need to move into my higher expression. So there is a phenomenal depth in that, and yes, there's going to be lots of turmoil on the outside. On the outside, it will feel quite chaotic because some of the things that I'm seeing on the horizon, coming at us, it's already in the making, they will be mind-boggling. You won't be able to make any sense of this, and you will not know what to believe in. So please, do yourself a favor. This is my biggest energy tip for you for May. Get out of your head. You will not find answers there. Just like how I recommended to one of you in the beginning here. If you try to understand a bully, a serial killer, or a heartless person, you will go crazy in the process. Because in order for you to understand it, you would have to deny your own heart. You would have to deny your own empathy. Do you really want that? Or do you want to be a heart warrior like myself and, all the people that come to me, to get trained in how to know yourself better, how to apply things, how to embody the spiritual journey without the woo-woo, it's obviously woo-woo because it's fluid, it's in constant flux, so you have to learn how to respond, but without any particular school or viewpoint, but through systematically learning how to freely think, how to freely feel for yourself, and how to protect your own energy and how to pick your battles more wisely, and the little extra boundaries and the little extra checkpoints that you personally have to sort of install in your life, because now that you understand, your programming, you also understand your susceptibilities. So seeing yourself as an energetic being always leads to you recognizing, that, externalizing your power, that seeing yourself on the outside in, that, blaming, and respectively victimhood, that they are not leading you to your higher potential. They are leading you into the darkness of your own battle with the divine. So deep words. All I can say is stay tuned, subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys. I don't know why there are so few people only subscribe to my YouTube channel. And sign up for my email newsletter, where you get write-ups, transcripts, and also reminders for all the free events that I have at transCODES, and all the new courses and the classes that are running here. We're going to have a new transCODES, like energy healer classes this year. We're going to have the new love integrity class this year. Sign up for my email list. It's all on my website, transcodes.com. And if you would like to meet me in person, if you would like to feel all these things in your body, and what this actually means to have this sort of spiritual pragmatism, all right, then join me and many others in our retreat in Iceland this year, the end of June till the beginning of July. A most transformative experience. Ask me, send me an email, or ask other people that are coming to Iceland. It is one of those events that, like others as well, I'm not saying that my events are so special, but because of the depth and because of the location, you're going to have an experience that is going to change you. I can promise you that. So you're going to see the world with different eyes. And that is, if you're asking me as an energy coach, what we need to learn to embrace. We need to learn to embrace and to let go of our old views and freely explore new ways. And then come to a conscious choice based on who we are, based on what we are, and based on what we want to do with this. So with this, I would like to close. Thank you very much for coming live here to our energy forecast and discussion. As always, I love your heart. It's very empowering for me to see this and to know that you're there. I know that many of you come regularly. So take advantage of our free online meditation and energy talks here on Skype Live. All you need is a Skype account. It's free. And it's not as public, as these things such as, the other social media outlets. So it gives us a little more anonymity and therefore a little more depth. And check out my website. I love it. Have a wonderful May, everyone. Bye-bye. Welcome to our only live workshop this year in Iceland. And we will get inspired, learn how to overcome our old ways and learn new ways. Join us to this only in-person energy healing and training seminar in Iceland this year. Learn from us how to test and discern truth and its dualities. Explore how to implement conscious awakening into the physical. See how it's done. And even if you just want to come to Iceland to explore this magnificent island, the midnight sun, the waterfalls, the geysers, or stop by while traveling to Europe or to the United States, then check this out. Either way, we're going to have an unforgettable experience together, spending 24-hour daylight, in one of the most sacred places on this planet. Tickets and registration is now online. You can plan your summer vacation with us in June in Iceland.